60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 13.
Part man.
Part machine.
All pod.
This minute begins with the old man saying, "Dick, I'm very disappointed," and ends with Bob Morton saying, "Yes, now that's how it's done."
I must admit, I really did enjoy this minute. It's
fun. Some things are happening.
It is a fun minute. We just come through something that's really kind of horrific and yet, kind of.
The aftermath is frankly goofy.
Okay, so the old man, Dick, and Morton do not give a fuck about what just happened.
No, this is a boo-boo. This is a slight mishap with the whole production line of their idea. You know, it is a roadblock.
What I find really quaint is that, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's, the old man goes on about, he only cares about the setback and the potential cost of $50 million in interest payments. And I'm like, oh, $50 million? Oh, how quaint. This would be like a multi-billion-dollar setback if it was, nowadays. The scale of it. 50
million in interest payments alone, granted. So, there would be more than that, but that's still very cute numbers compared to today.
Yeah, it's amazing how much money $50 million is in 1987. I mean, you can essentially win that in Lotto nowadays.
Yeah. Even then, I think the hypothetical of what would you do with $1 million is still relevant to us common folk. Because it's just, wow, I can't even imagine having $100,000, let alone $1 million.
I think in Australian terms, it's, what would you buy for $1 million? 1.5 houses?
Yeah.
The property in WA is gotten to the point where it is about $500,000 just minimum per house.
I think we should go back to the old ways of just finding a patch of land that no one else was on and building a house, and that's your house now. Where are we? This is 18 Fuck You Drive. I live here now.
This is 9/11 America Drive, Freedom Avenue. Oh, Jesus. So how many minutes have we been in this boardroom now? This is, the fourth minute?
Probably about 4 or 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, 3 or 4 minutes. 3 with Luke, and we just got into the boardroom. I might just notice that essentially Dick Jones and Bob Morton are wearing the same suit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the 80s, so there is that grey suit.
Yeah, but it's a power suit.
It is the power suit.
That's what they're kind of referred to as. The only difference is the ties are different. A red and blue tie, symbolism. Going back to that whole doubling structure we talked about. Maggie Mayfish makes a big point about it.
It's interesting that the old man's suit is less structured.
Yeah, he feels more relaxed compared to the other two, but at the same time, he's the big boss.
Yeah, he's not trying to make an impression. He doesn't have to impress anyone. Whereas the other two, basically the same grey suit, waistcoat. Undershirts are pale blue.
Yeah, even their hair is almost slightly the same kind of cut as well. In the sweeping of the parting of the hairs and stuff like that. It's like, holy shit. The things you never notice when you're just trying to watch a movie. When you're trying to deep dive a movie, it's like, wow.
Yeah, this is the costume stuff that I tend to focus on, although this one actually slipped under my radar. I was just so focused on the old man's expression. And he goes, oh, this is just a minor setback. And he's just like, what? The face is just pure what in Terabang.
I know, it's so good. You know what it was? I just paused on the one shot of the three of them, and I went, holy shit, you're getting Dick and Bob next to each other, and yeah, it's almost like one is the younger version of the other. And I thought about this. I hope they bring this up in this proposed prequel series we're getting. And maybe there's some incident where Bob, as a young executive, looked up to Dick and something happened. Maybe it was the RoboCop project, which is actually what caused the rift.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated to see how they're going to bring the continuity, the mythos of RoboCop, of this film, and the pieces they're going to pick out from here. Because, I would want to bring Bob Morton back. I think he's a great character. And I think the timeline works out just fine. If you go back maybe 10 years or so, he would still be here, I think.
Well, I imagine Delta City has got to have been a multi-decade project. I mean, literally trying to build an entire city and like the machinations of trying to undermine old Detroit. That's got to take some time.
What if they go back even further than that, and it's just Morton as the Jimmy Olsen of the crew? It's like, gee, Mr. Jones, yeah, I think I could do that.
No, I thought you were going to go back even further and you find out that Dick Jones fucked Bob Morton's mother.
Yeah.
That's how much of a power move he's got.
Yeah. But I going back to the costumes, I think that is a very good choice, that it is this very repressive, very competitive environment where... Okay, I was trying to describe this without making an American Psycho reference, but come on, it's an American Psycho reference, where even the business cards, they're all just white business cards, but no. To them, it's a huge difference. And so I guess, they're probably wearing the, Armani or the Hugo Boss suit, or whatever everyone in this workplace culture has decided, that's the suit we want. And everyone's doing it now, because that's the only way to feel important, is having the label rather than focusing on anything else, like individual style or anything else.
Well, the power suit never truly went away.
Not really.
Probably some of the fashionable cuts of the time, like the big shoulders and stuff like that, maybe went, but you still see, politicians to this day, especially Australian politicians, they'll still wear, the greys and the blacks and those associated... And if I remember correctly, a lot of that power suit colour association was just pure made-up bullshit.
Yeah, so we're in an environment now where it's all blue, black, grey. You had a bit of browns and beiges and neutrals in the 70s, but mostly, those three have just continued to persevere, and it's purely cultural. There's no real reason for it.
I remember there was a thing back in the mid to late 80s. I think this was about the grey power suit. It's literally just some guy invented this idea that people who wear grey power suits tend to go better in business dealings and stuff like that. It was completely made up bullshit. I
can imagine that, that article makes the rounds. Suddenly everyone needs to have the grey suit.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those weird things where this guy just out of nowhere wrote this fucking book about, how to be better at business. And one of the things was you've got to wear the right clothes, and yuppies and corporate shills and all the other ones just snapped it up like crazy.
There's definitely something to be said for enclothed cognition. They've been doing some studies into this, and people do wield more authority if they're wearing the power suit, or if they're wearing a white lab coat or anything like that.
Exactly. I get the white lab coat to a certain degree. It's not necessarily about authority, although for me, I'd just say, although I have done this, but people associate jobs with things so that this person is in a job that requires a coat, they must be allowed here.
Yeah, you can walk into any building with a reflective vest.
Yes, if you walk into a job site with a reflective vest and a hard hat, people aren't going to look twice at you.
Oh, clipboard, that also helps.
Yeah, that's it. I believe this is actually real-world espionage. This is what people who do exist within those, like the CIAs and the MI5s and all the other things, that's what they do. They get into places not by being secretive, but by being obviously part of the scenery.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be that James Bond kind of stuff. It's never like that.
Yeah. It tends to be a lot more boring.
I would like to watch a mundane spy adventure. Just, so clipboard, cool. Safety vest, just getting into mundane things,
Some of this real-life spy stuff I've seen, it's like, the interesting stuff is when they're trying to out-spy each other, trying to plant bugs and detecting bugs. That's the stuff that usually is a bit more interesting, but when it's just, typical information gathering, it's, boring.
It's mostly done on computers now. Such a shame.
Yeah.
Going back to the suit, it's interesting that, in politics and more formal settings, we're still seeing men wearing suits, but with the whole advent of Silicon Valley and most innovators and most powerful people coming out of there, you aren't seeing Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or any of those guys almost never in a suit.
The tech bros tend to have their own cultivated look. Well, Steve Jobs was famous for...
It's called normcore.
Oh, okay.
That's the name of the aesthetic, and it's just basically dad jeans and Seinfeld sneakers.
Well, I'm not sure how much this is bullshit. I can kind of believe it. The idea that he literally bought an entire wardrobe of black skivvies and, brown pants was because he wanted to...
Brown pants?
Minimize... What, bound or khaki? Whatever pants he wore.
They're just jeans.
I don't care. Steve Jobs is dead and I don't like him anyway. He's an asshole.
I care about being accurate. That is the way of being a Movies by Minute critic.
Okay. I just never really paid attention to Steve Jobs' junk. I'll fully admit that. The idea behind it is that he wanted to... Again, I'm not sure how much this is complete bullshit, but it makes some sense. He wanted to minimize the amount of extraneous thought that goes into decision making.
Oh yeah, I absolutely believe that.
Making so many decisions. So just going, I am just going to cut out as much extraneous BS decisions as I could, so I'm just going to literally wear this kind of thing. I kind of get that, because I just grab a random pair of pants and a random t-shirt. I'm not caring a shit about what my fashion choices are on almost every day.
I go insane if I cannot wear different outfits every day. So during lockdown, and I was just wearing, my around the house crappy clothes every single day for months, and I just went, I can't do this. So I started wearing nice clothes around the house because I just could not do it anymore. I looked at the track pants and I slapped them across the room. I couldn't do it. I'm
trying to slowly evolve away from the track pants, but I've lost enough weight now I can actually fit in some decent
nice
pants and stuff like that.
Welcome to structured waistbands, my friend.
I don't like
and then I went down south for a week with a friend, and I went, I'm going to be minimalist. I'm just going to bring 2 pairs of shirts and pants. By the end of the week, I just wanted to burn them. I hated them so much. So sick of it.
Oh, you're going to hate my trip to Malaysia. I was there for 5 months. I literally had, I had to buy some extra clothes while I was over there, obviously, but I spent basically 5 months in essentially the same 7 t-shirts and 8 pairs of pants.
You're making me cry, man.
Okay, I was working, so 4 of those t-shirts were work shirts. I bought 4 brand new black t-shirts. By the end of the time, they were all covered in dust, paint, glue holes, all sorts. So yeah, I did wear them out occasionally because I would go from work to a supermarket or something like that, but not to a fancy one.
I have tailored coveralls. I'm that asshole. I tailored my coveralls. Yeah.
I kind of wish... Okay, so Adam Savage has just released his apron that he made as a buyable thing from the tested website.
Nice.
And part of me is there going, I really want to buy it. It's $95 American plus postage.
Damn.
And part of me is also going, I'll never wear it. I wanted something like that to wear in the shed, but I don't have a shed at the moment, and I'm not building anything.
I know, it's just it's the aesthetic. It's just really selling you on the dream.
Yeah, it's the thing of, I'm going to look professional.
Exactly. I have definitely been tempted like that before. And the other thing is uniforms. I love the idea of a uniform, but then at the same time, having gone to Catholic school for all of my school career, no, you just don't want to look at it anymore. You live in that thing.
I kind of hate uniforms. The only thing that comes close for me uniform-wise is cosplay. And no, I wouldn't necessarily hate uniforms. The things I hate the most, collared shirts. Fucking can't stand polos.
Oh yeah, polos.
Dress shirts, I'm fine with to a certain degree, but
every single thing that Kanye West brings into mainstream fashion, it peaks and then it crashes. And I would love to do a video essay on this. You had the shutter shades, you had the pink polos, you had just everything that Kanye touches just skyrockets in popularity, and then everyone just gorges themselves on it to the point that they cannot look at it anymore.
I remember when Shutter Shades first came out, it was called the 80s.
Yeah, because that was the only era of innovation. We had our Patrick Nagels, we had our Memphis interior design style, we had it solved, culture had perfected itself, and basically at the point we are now, 2020, it's just a continuous downward spiral into cultural oblivion.
You know what should return? Pantaloons. You know, let's go back even further. You know, let's go back. You know what? Let's go back to cavemen. Let's start wearing like animal skins. Or actually, I bet you can't do that anymore because like the bloody vegans are going to get pissy at you on pizza. Figured I said that.
Oh, no.
Actually, let's get boycotted by a big group. That might actually get some audience.
Come at me, vegans. I can take you. I am not nutrient deficient, so I can take you in a fight. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right. You're a carnivore. So
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go.
I'm ready.
Yeah. I'll just eat most of what's put in front of me. But don't ask me to choose. It's like, I'm only about murder if it's going to be a fascist statement. That's something I don't want permanent record.
I would like it on the record that I advocate murder for food and for fashion.
What about fashionable food?
Yeah?
Speaking of like peak 80s kind of wank.
Yeah, I mean, I do have an Instagram. I do post food. I actually made, it was a flower shape. It was made out of chicken hearts, and that is my proudest achievement. Yes.
I think the only photo of food on my Instagram account is a photo of boxes of cereal.
Yes, it is. That's the only thing on your account, period. So.
I've got like 5 photos from 2015. That's it.
You suck. Anyway, we've gone way off track here. I don't... Somewhat relevant, but...
Speaking of uniforms...
Yes.
Morton lets it drop that in this minute that... I'll get the exact quote. We've restructured the police department to place prime candidates according to risk factor. I'm confident we can go to prototype in 90 days. It's funny how I never noticed that before, you know, starting to analyze this movie. And it's just like, you know, holy shit. You know, having... Murphy turn up earlier, you know, going, I don't know why I've been transferred, you know, beats me.
Yeah. Oh, we actually don't know... Yeah, we don't know how these scenes relate to each other in terms of chronology, so it really could be a case of Bob saying, we can get this done now, we'll transfer Alex across, there you go.
Well, the way I see it, the chronology is correct in terms of order of events in this. Morton's already started... He says, we've restructured the police department. Not restructuring.
Oh, right, he's already moved ahead, so even though he didn't get the...
He's already started.
Yeah.
So, like, it really is that just luck of the draw that Murphy was the guy that, you know, died literally after several other cops had died, and just as, like, the RoboCop project is being poured ahead. So, we literally don't know how much Morton had prepped beforehand, but...
Just a word of warning for listeners out there who have found themselves recently transferred for no apparent reason. You may want to watch your back. Maybe someone has a plan for you, or they had a plan for you and then it fell through and now you're fine, I guess?
If your department of that should be owned by a government body or a owned company or something like that.
Public sector.
Something
yeah.
gets bought by a multinational big corporation, and then they start putting their logo on all over your uniforms.
Get out.
Maybe calling sick.
Yeah.
And you know, just stop coming into work if you're just being transferred into the highest, like, worst crime-ridden part of the city. just you know, just retire. Just don't.
So it's interesting that the old man, I mean, we don't really know what his relationship with Bob was before that, but yeah, he just goes, you know what, can't fuck up any worse than Dick did, so go ahead, I want a presentation in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it is preempted by, like, Bob's just there going at the beginning of this meeting going, all I need is that one shot to get close enough to the old man to pitch my idea, and...
Absolute vulture.
Yes, that's why, yeah, I even said, like, this is why Bob Norton...
A man has died!
Bob Norton is technically a protagonist here, but he's not a good person. He's as much of a shit as Dick.
I love that when... this is something that becomes more obvious when you're reviewing things movies by minute style, is in every individual scene you have your protagonist and your antagonist, and it doesn't really matter who's the hero or the villain so much as...
Yeah.
So in this minute, it's Bob. He's our point of view. That's the aim of this scene. This is what we're trying to accomplish. So, yeah, I like... It actually... I find it very helpful when I'm writing. If you look at every... little scene as being a story in and of itself, and it has a goal.
Yeah, that's actually something we got taught in one of my screenwriting classes in university. Is a matter of like, as much as you got overall structure, you've got to like think on the micro level on, what is this scene doing? What is the scene saying? What is being conveyed? Every scene doesn't have to necessarily be about something, but like, what is being conveyed is really important. Like, is it forwarding character? Is it forwarding plot? Is it developing the story? That's why to some degree some like world building is good. You don't want an hour's worth of world building.
Oh, that I switch off immediately. Especially, this is why I find it hard to get into fantasy, because if I start watching a movie or a TV show or open a book, and the first thing is this opening scroll of long ago in a distant land. Okay, Samurai Jack's great, but just using it as an example of just like, there was the 5 realms, and there was and then the Fire Nation. Okay, Fire Nation, take that. Avatar's good. Okay, so there are exceptions, but I'm just saying, mostly, unless someone's telling me you have to watch Avatar, it's the most amazing thing ever. If I start watching something and it has the opening descriptor of all these different races and regions, and no, I do not care.
It's fine if it's like, say, the first minute, if you're doing like, say, like a TV series, like the first minute of a TV series to set up the world building, that's kind of fine. But when your first episode is half an hour of world building,
or in the case of Warhammer, it's just nothing but lore. There's no character. There is no emotional meaning or resonance here. It's just lore.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with, like, say, games that are also an entirely different beast. I was having a discussion with some people about Vampire the Masquerade, or World of Darkness pretty much in general, and how they're like, it's got all this political stuff inside of it, and you kind of have to adhere to lore. I'm like going, no, you don't. It's a game. You can do whatever you want. If you want to stick to the lore, by all means. But if you're finding you're having to read 15 books of backstory to get into Evolve, just play. Evolve your own story. The biggest problem with fantasy, and to a lesser degrees hard sci-fi, or like certain degrees of sci-fi, is that because fantasy has its own like internal structure. Is this a fantasy with magic? And if so, what's the magic? Is it snap your fingers and things happen? Is it chance ruins and spell combined and everything like that? You usually, if you want to establish that stuff within it, you're going to have to do something about it, and that's half the time fantasy tends to drag on sometimes. You can't just be thrown into a world.
I wonder if you could do that with Lord of the Rings, though, because it does open with Galadriel giving that whole speech about the 9 rings and realm, or 9 races of men, whatever it was, I can't remember. But
it's very much to set up the actual idea of the ring. You could probably put that in as backstory, but I think Lord of the Rings does it well enough. It's not...
It's the hero's journey. You can follow Frodo as easily as you follow Luke Skywalker or any of those characters. I don't think you need that opening craft. The
original Star Wars opening was, like, famously... The title crawl was almost, like, 10-15 minutes, ridiculous. It was a long time, and it just kept cutting back and forth to Tatooine. And
oh my god,
yeah, the original reports, I think it was Francis Ford Coppola, just basically turned around and said, "Dude, this is not working."
Wait, so they were cutting from opening scroll to Tatooine to opening scroll again?
Yeah, it was just cutting back between, and it was all about like getting Luke's POV of the situation up in the sky. It really was like Martha Lewis like cutting that shit down. I think it was Alan Dean Foster who rewrote the title scroll for episode 4.
Oh yeah.
Who is now currently having a shit fit because Disney won't pay him royalties.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah, part of me is just like going, I don't think Alan Dean Foster's royalties are going to be that much, but at the same time, it's a bad precedent if that goes ahead.
And also, I mean, I like Alan Dean Foster. He's definitely given me many things to talk about on podcasts over the years. Great man. And so, yeah, I hope he gets what he's supposed to get.
It feels very scummy that a corporation would just turn around and say, we're going to own all this work, but we're not going to abide by previous contracts about that work. That just feels like a really bad precedent. That's every creator unless it's work for hire, I think technically novelizations and stuff is all work for hire. But
anyway, getting back on track, I was gonna say that.
Well, speaking about books.
Oh, right. Yeah, because I was gonna say just how they establish the story, but just so I remind myself, yes, how this podcast. Yes, I can podcast and think at the same time. Yeah, okay, I got it.
You can? I can't. That's why I like doing stream of conscience things. I just switch my brain off and talk for half an hour.
But yes, I'll let you finish.
In the book, it's interesting is that Morton's actually more concerned about Kenny's, with what happens to Kenny, and to the point where, I like this, he calls medical concepts, as because they're part of security concepts, so they don't just call a doctor, they call medical concepts. And part of me is sad we don't get to see how ridiculously incompetent medical concepts is.
Oh, I would have loved to see that. Maybe they try to turn him into Robo. Well, he's not a RoboCop. I don't know. Robo Boy.
No, I'm just imagining, this
Astro Boy.
This team of guys in really bad looking mock ambulance type suits come in, and this guy's clearly bullet holes are throughout everything, and they start giving him CPR mouth to mouth because that's gonna do something.
See, I was imagining those yellow hazmat suit guys from Monsters Inc. just come down from the ceiling.
Yes! They come down and just douse him in fire.
Yep. Yeah, just fire extinguisher, rappel out of there again. I guess that did something. So yeah, what I was saying before is just how RoboCop sets up story. I mean, we've praised it many, many times, but what's particularly interesting in from the perspective of what we're discussing now is that there's no opening scroll, there is no point of view character for a good while. We're kind of jumping all over the place. It could be Bob Morton for all you. If you knew nothing about this movie, you kind of go, is it this guy? Is he the main guy?
I think framing-wise, the first person we get a good close-up shot of is Murphy. Just these last 2 months of memory just trying to force their way in. And I think that's usually just a good barometer of we know the movie is called RoboCop. We know that the cop is going to be the person we're going to be following. The first cop we see is Sergeant Reed, but the first person we get an actual close-up on, which is cinematic language of this is a person we need to relate to, is definitely Alex Murphy.
And, I mean, Star Wars does it as well. The first characters we're introduced to are the droids, so...
Yeah, the droids are our point of view characters throughout most of the Star Wars universe when they're not being ruined by J.J. Abrams by deleting their memory for no reason.
Jam Abrams, which is I'm just going to continue to corrupt his name further and further until it's not even a name anymore.
I still like J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams. Yeah, I think what really appeals to me about doing moves by minute reviews is that I can really break down how a story works and how they're conveying information, because it's a real art form, and it can, if we've seen it goes wrong, I'm going to say most of the time, if anything. I think most major movies, and you know what, I think most books I've been reading this year that have come out in the past few years, frankly, structure is not something that everyone's good at. It's not something I'm good at. I think it's a real challenge, because when you're you've got all these ideas, you've got all these possibilities, and then you have to pull back and go, okay, but what's the actual story here? Don't just spend time writing the scenes between the characters you like and have fun. What's the actual story?
What's the purpose? Again, going back to that thing, what's the purpose of a scene? What's doing this? What's the purpose of this chapter? You can apply these kind of questions to almost every form of writing. I mean, that's kind of how they teach you how to write an essay.
Or storytelling of art, yeah.
Yeah, even how to write an essay is first line opening the question, second line answering the question, third line expanding on the question, fourth line wrapping up the question, fifth line setting up the next question. And structure exists for a good reason. And unless you are masterful at going off the beaten path, you should adhere to some form of structure. It doesn't have to be 100% structured and boring and predictable, but that's kind of reason why things like the hero's journey resonate so much, is because we can understand it and we can resonate with it. And sometimes when people use the hero's journey badly, we just go, ugh.
Yeah, where you just go, I know exactly where this is going. They're not giving us anything new. It's actually quite rare, I think, to have a storyteller who can just ramble on and yet you're totally riveted. But one author that I really think nails it is Haruki Murakami, who most people would know from 1Q84, and it is just, it's an experience. You're not in a rush to get anywhere. You're just enjoying the day-to-day of these characters and the really bizarre stuff that goes on. And yeah, I think that kind of storytelling is kind of disappearing. I think it may have once been more common when you go further back in literature or myth telling and all of that. There was no hero's journey. There was no 3-act structure. So you could get a little bit weirder and more experimental, whereas mainstream media now, we're getting more uniform.
Well, technically speaking, the hero's journey is a modern construct based on reviewing and metatextualizing old stories and how they progress. And
yeah, it's kind of refining it. It's basically going, what's the most common denominator these stories have, and then boiling it down to those elements.
It's like, what, 12, 13 steps in the hero's journey in typical, at least in, I think, in Joseph Campbell's structure. But most stories only maybe use 6. 5 or 6. They typically start off at the beginning or the end, but for the most part, you don't have to follow every single moment of the hero's journey. That's literally not what it's about.
It's, as long as you get the rise and fall in action, that's basically it.
Exactly. And this is why, like, most modern storytelling is the 3-act structure. Yeah, you also have like 5-act structures, 6-act structures, depends if you're doing Shakespearean, all that type of stuff. The build-up and the fall is a very common trope, and it's good for a reason. RoboCop uses that. The whole point of the confrontation between RoboCop and Dick Jones at the end of the second act is because it's like at least the fall of RoboCop. You know, you see him at his lowest, and then you kind of get that hurrah when he comes back. And it's funny when you don't get that sometimes.
I think this is actually the perfect example of a 3-act structure, but I don't know if it fits into the hero's journey. I've been thinking about it, and I don't see much of a... Because he doesn't have any agency, is the main thing. Is Murphy is thrust into this situation against his will. He doesn't even have the choice to resist. You know, the hero is called to action, and then they resist. Or there's supposed to be, you know, a little bit of doubt or something in that part. No, there's none of that.
The resist is also a step that can be skipped to a certain degree. It has been skipped before. People go off into the journey. See, the archetypical... This is because Lucas literally wrote it. The most archetypical story you can say set to the hero's journey is A New Hope. Lucas was a huge fan of Joseph Campbell. He wrote that script to be pretty much a hero's journey in screen form. Yeah, he doesn't necessarily return home at the end, and I don't think he ever goes back to Tatooine, except in spin-off in the expanded universe. I
mean, why would you want to, really?
Well, even Luke says it, like, you know, his aunt and uncle are dead, there's nothing for him here now, so it was going to leave all those droids to just, you know, get rusty in the desert until some unnamed person turns around and goes, I'm going to own this now. 30 odd years later. I
actually do love the step of return home having changed, and Star Wars doesn't have that, but Lord of the Rings does, and I love in the books, there's a line where one of the hobbits, I think it is Frodo, he's looking around, you know, they're just, I think they're having a meal, having drinks, and they look around, and he just says, this place feels so much smaller now, and you just feel it. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever read Lord of the Rings again, because it is a big undertaking, but there's some great stuff in there.
I'll be honest, I could never get through it.
Okay, 2 things I am just absolutely amazed that I finished. Cannot believe it. I finished reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy, 1,008 pages, mind you, when I was 10 or 11, maybe 12.
Wow.
And I then sold those books, and I was selling things on Gumtree, and it was picked up by these parents who were buying it for their daughter's 11th birthday thing. I went, oh, this is perfect. Yes, I'm so glad these books are going to the right place, and hopefully that starts her journey into being a huge nerd like I do.
So I've read The Hobbit, but I've never read. I tried to read Lord of the Rings, and I just found it just impenetrable. I just couldn't. I find Tolkien's writing just way too much.
It's that very traditional fairy tale myth kinda. It's very heavy.
Yeah, well, I tried to read the Silmarillion once, and it felt like I had to read the Bible.
Oh, never read the No, do not read it. That is just no. What? That is not even. It's not finished, basically. But the other thing, because I said there were two things that I can't believe I finished. The other one is The Witcher. I don't know how I managed to finish that game because I suck at games, but I did it. So there you go.
Well, again, you've beaten me at The Witcher, so I've never completed the first game. I've just been gifted the third one, and I've been told just skip to it.
When people say The Witcher, they mean The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. We're not talking about the first two. So just forget there are the first two. It's sort of like Deus Ex. Like you can play... We have to mention Deus Ex.
I never asked for this.
So my friend Mandy, who's she's not big into video games, she's not big into like even The Witcher the series, but she's big into The Witcher the games, and she's always trying to get me to play the damn games. Same with the Assassin's Creed, not really my thing.
They suck.
So she gifted me number 3. It's just like, oh, thank you. And I've only just installed it, and I've still not played it.
Black Flag. If you need to play an Assassin's Creed, play Black Flag because you get to be a fucking pirate and you get a boat and it's good shit. 10/10. Would do again.
I'll only buy the Assassin's Creed Black Flag edition if it comes with the Henry Rollins DLC. Boom-ts.
I don't get that reference, but okay.
He was the lead singer of a punk band called Black Flag.
Oh, there you go. It's also a bug spray.
I think they might have got the name for the band from the bug spray.
My last note was that is it possible that Bob Morton sabotaged the Ed 209?
Ooh, never thought about that. He technically would have had clearance.
He could just walk right in there. He's got the grey suit. He can go anywhere.
I would imagine, based on how Miguel Ferrer acted the scene in the beginning, where it was a bit more of contempt, like, I can't believe this dickhead's getting his way, that I say that he didn't.
Yeah, true. If it was something the script was trying to get across, then or the filmmakers in general were trying to get across, then they'd have him acting all smug and like, this won't work, just watch. Whereas in real life, people can actually lie.
I don't know. Yeah, it would be an extra dimensional thing. The problem is, like, at the end of the day, the text is king. Like, there's no way we can ever confirm that. But I like the headcanon. I do like the headcanon.
Yeah, we also cannot deny it. I love when you find room for little details like that where you go, it's just a little too convenient that they were ready to do a presentation for Ed 209, and then suddenly it's not working. So, I mean, you could say, oh, well, they were rushed, they weren't ready, or you could have a bit of fun and go, well, maybe someone made it glitch up like that.
Maybe it was Kenny. It was an elaborate suicide attempt.
I mean, if you have to go, yeah, that's the way to go.
It's either that or be stuck as Bob Morton's kicking stool for the rest of your life, I guess.
Whipping boy.
So I do have some commentary notes before we move on. So Verhoeven talks about actually cutting down the gore of the scene from when it was originally intended. Now, he claims that the producer John Davison, who is also in the commentary, who was the one who directed this scene, even though I have the notes to the contrary that it was the second AD, Monty Hellman.
Conspiracy.
I know, conspiracy theories. Well, by all accounts, Verhoeven apparently wasn't happy that there was even a second unit. So it could just be that thing where he's either forgetting or deliberately forgetting. I'm not casting aspersions. This is also, a movie that was made God knows how many years ago before they even did the commentary. But apparently the only reason why they cut down the gore is because Verhoeven thought it was actually too comedic. Like, he thought it was, like, getting a bit ridiculous, like Monty Python-esque levels of, over the top. And I think he felt that it being too funny kind of, like, undercut the actual seriousness of what happens. Like, yes, it's kind of fun and over the top, but at the same time, it's not so ridiculous that you're there going, holy shit, this guy died, and...
Yeah, RoboCop, in terms of tone, other than when Murphy is killed, isn't like a Tarantino movie. It isn't an anime. It's not that kind of cartoonish blood and gore everywhere violence. It's hard to describe. It's something different, and you don't see it anywhere else, I don't think.
It's bad when I'm going to say, I can't wait till we get to the Murphy death scene, because that just sounds so wrong, but it's something that's going to be, definitely we'll be talking about a bit more in depth. But yeah, it's...
Did you watch our RoboCop? Yeah.
Not all of it, but I did watch the segment with the raccoon in the trash can bit.
Yeah, because when Murphy dies, they do that as a choreographed dance sequence, and it is frankly amazing.
I just haven't had time to sit down and kind of concentrate on a piece of media like that. Like, I listen to things where I can listen to the background and stuff, but and also I'm trying to veg out, and I've just been watching a whole lot of YouTube restoration and wood turning videos, because it's just...
Yeah, I've been trying to get you to watch Transformers Prime for a while now, so yeah, I know.
Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?
I have technical issues regarding Netflix in the night time, so
Yeah.
it's like, so it's hard to do it. I barely caught up with Star Trek Discovery.
Well, shit. That's exactly what I was hoping to spare you from.
Why would you do that?
Oh shit, I didn't even mean to fucking drop Star Trek in, it just happened.
Yeah, is that the first time we've done it today? Maybe.
Yes, I'm leaving it in just so we can get the drop.
There we go, yeah.
And we also got the Transformers one in there too.
We did do Transformers, so that's good.
But yeah, the gore in the previous scene, I don't think really touched on it that much with Luke, as much as you probably could get any depth with Luke. But yeah, it's strange how this movie is kind of notorious for its action, but no one really brings up the gore that much. You think of like the Ed 209 scene, but you don't think of it like as like this, like the Monty Python levels are just blood gushing out. It's like, or evil, like the torrents of blood in like Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, it's more about the disturbing. So you got Melty Man, you got Murphy being turned into RoboCop, you've got Kinney being shot up, but it's more about the shock and the impact of that violence rather than getting bodily fluids everywhere.
Yeah, it's a totally non-glorified version of somebody dying. It's not, especially Murphy, it's not heroic. He didn't go out in a blaze of glory. He's cut down in the most brutal, non-humane way possible by a bunch of absolute assholes.
It's just complete indifference, and that's kind of realistic, to be honest.
But we can definitely talk about that in a further point, because I think we've got... As much as I think we're trying both to put this off as much as possible, we do have the gaslighting of RoboCop.
Gaslighting RoboCop!
Alex, how do you feel? I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
Yeah, my favorite part.
I found a new drop.
Yeah, it just came out of me. I felt inspired.
Do you want to lead on this minute, or shall I just get onto it?
This minute begins with a mob boss saying, "Just a moment, got to deal with this," and ends with a shootout, so,
A shootout you've seen like 15,000 times by now. So my one line is, Rick Flag gets into a prolonged gunfight where everyone is firing and no one gets hit.
Yep, always the way. Stormtrooper aim all the way.
I've stopped referring to him as Murphy. He's just now Rick Flag.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. He's not as cool as Takeshi Kovacs as in Altered Carbon. So yeah, I think Rick Flag's appropriate.
The more I keep watching Murphy, the more I'm going, God damn it, it is Rick Flag from Suicide Squad.
It's basically the same character, you just swap out a few details.
He's just got a wife and kids in this.
It's just amazing to me that this feels less real than the scene where a giant robot that looks like a chicken murdered a man in a business suit. How did they manage to do that? I mean, I guess it's very much down to, well, it's a lot of things. Like, it's performance, it's cinematography, and direction, and I think just the way
So brown.
the way this scene is filmed, it reminds me of the kinds of things you would see show up on Red Letter Media, where it's this independent movie. It is filmed in some friend's restaurant. It looks like it came from 2006. It was filmed on a proper video camera. Yeah. It's just, it looks terrible.
You know what it feels like? It feels like a TV show cop shootout.
Oh, I'd even say it's worse than that. This is a bunch of mates who wanted to make John Wick. And it's got the shaky cam, and I hate everything about this. It can't even do action right. You know, at least if it was a shit movie, but you know, it's an action movie, so at least it'll do that right. Like a Fast and the Furious movie. They're not brilliant, but the car stuff's great.
Yeah, if it was dumb but entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just... Okay, the car stuff in Fast and Furious is actually inaccurate, and there's problems with it, but at least it's entertaining, you know?
Don't they literally jump between, like, several different skyscraper buildings or something ridiculous in one of those movies?
Okay, well, as you get further on, it's just basically Transformers, but the cars don't transform. They're just formers.
And everyone loses their hair.
I
I just love that poster. It's just like one bald guy against a bunch of other bald guys.
You don't need hair. It just slows you down. It's not aerodynamic. Even in the car. The other thing is, this sequence should be establishing the relationship between Murphy and Lewis. What we've already done in the original film is establish that, and really well, and you really know who these characters are. So far, Lewis has been MIA, he was injured, and now there's barely any conversation between these two characters. There's nothing. I think this should have been a funny scene. That's the problem. This is like a Solo's origin story, whatever the fuck that was called. Yeah. That Solo, a Star Wars story. Anyway, it's like they just sapped all the humor out of it, and so it's just flat. There's just nothing.
What's the name of that Solo Star Wars movie? I think it was called The Millennium Falcon That Couldn't Slow Down.
Yeah. The Millennium Falcon that was actually an SJW robot that had feelings for Lando Calrissian, and they probably banged on the side, but I don't know how she did that. Anyway, Star Wars. Very long title. I'm gonna Photoshop that onto the Star Wars.
That would be amazing. But you gotta do it in the Star Wars font as well.
Yes!
Oh, shit. Isn't it weird though? We got to the point with the Robocop remake, we would rather talk about any other movie, including one of the worst Star Wars movies ever made.
What have you done to us, Robocop the remake?
I was actually going to turn around and say, I can't remember, but isn't Lewis killed off screen in this movie? And in like
I think so.
A few minutes from now,
And never comes back. I'm pretty sure he never comes back. He never has a moment like, next time, baby. Like in Iron Man.
oh, yeah.
Fuck, I would have loved that though, right?
Or the fact is that we made a better movie dealing with the Middle Eastern conflict than anything I know we're going to talk about with the next 20-odd, 60-odd episodes of the remake.
I love our Middle Eastern Robocop remake in which a small boy becomes a robot and fights against American occupation in the Middle East. It's great.
With knives in his legs.
With knives in his legs, yes.
A knife gun.
Knife gun.
God.
Is that just a crossbow?
Oh, that would be amazing. Just this robot, but he's just using medieval weaponry against, like, head-to-nines and wins.
Yeah, it's just the same thing with Hawkeye and Green
Yeah, I was
Arrow and
thinking
all this. Why? Why are we still doing this, guys?
Anyway, I think we're about done.
I think we somehow did manage to review some things in this.
Yes, maybe. Oh, it's been a lot of fun.
This has been fun, yeah. I don't know if the audience will particularly appreciate all our bullshit, but if you've made it this far, you probably do. You're probably on the same page.
When I cut down all of the extraneous bullshit, it's only half an hour long. It's like, wow, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, so where can our lovely viewers find you?
So you can find me on traviandesigns.com, Travan. You can also find me on patreon.com/traviandesigns. That's where you will get Covenant Minute and Legacy Minute.
And the final few episodes of Prometheus by Minute?
Yeah, so I almost finished Prometheus by Minute. I should... You know what, I'm gonna frickin' record it now. I just gotta do this, because it's been like 2 months, my life's been crazy, and I gotta do this.
Yeah, do it.
I will finish what I started.
We'll have a surprise guest to me. I'll just not stop recording this, and we'll just go on forever.
Yeah. You could just you in the background of me reading a script. Perfectly normal.
If you want to find me, I don't know why, but check out Fanboy Crossing. Just Google the YouTubes and all the other stuff. We are on Simplecast and YouTube's and. Was it Apple, Google, and Spotify? Please check our stuff out. I do have Patreon and all that, but no, please just share and enjoy our this lovely podcast we both do. Thank you very much for listening. See you later.
Robocock. Yeah.